Hi, it's Eva here at Breva Creative, and today we are going to be making some button jewelry. Now this button maker is from my husband's grandfather's upholstery shop. So Brad's grandfather used to be an upholsterer, and we inherited this cool button maker. And so that is what we are going to be using to make some cool vintagey looking fabric buttons, and then we are going to make those into jewelry after that. So watch along and see how that goes.
Okay, so here is my button maker. As a kid, I would sit in my grandpa's shop and make buttons all day. I'm so excited to try this little guy out again. So it comes with a set of dies for each size of button. Here are the parts. I'll show you all how to use them later. We've got a springy thing, a slicey thing, and then whatever this thing is. And last but not least, you need a reamer. Oh yeah, and buttons. You need lots of button blanks. These have a back part and a top part, and if you squish the fabric between the top and the bottom, you get the fabric to stay in place. This is just demonstrating the slicey thing. We'll put this in the press and actually cut some fabric later on, but now we got this perfect little circle that we're going to take our button blank and make a button. So taking your fabric circle, then placing it upside down on this part of the die set, then the top part of the button on top. Then grabbing your reamer and let it do its thing. I figured out that you want a thicker fabric, at least with this setup, because the thinner the fabric, the less well the button will hold together in the long run. And as you can see here, there's a lot of extra space that's letting what I just did undo itself, which you don't want. You want a nice tight friction fit in here, which I'll show you all later on. So now the springy boy is center stage, I am going to put the bottom piece of my button blank in here, and then we're going off to the press. So this is a nifty little thing that I did in my shop. I don't have much bench space, so I made a interchangeable system that bolts down to my table. That way I can switch it out for a grinder, a bench vise, etc. Check out the video link either below or above if you are interested in seeing more. This is backtracking a little, but here's how I cut out that perfect fabric circle. I'm using a small piece of wood so I don't damage the cutting die. I'm not sure if it's entirely necessary, but better safe than sorry. And I found that it actually helps to get a nice even slice as well. And believe it or not, that springy thing at the base really helps to make a great even cut too. I'm honestly not sure if other newer button makers have a spring like this, but I can tell you it is invaluable to your fabric cutting. And literally in 30 seconds, we have already made a ton of perfect little button circles. Now it's time to put it all together, with the bottom of the button in the springy thing and the top part of the button in the other part of the press. We're going to, crap, and this is why you don't want to use thin fabric. Let's try that again. And here we go. Now we're going to press down with a nice even motion, and hopefully we'll get a button out of it. The suspense is killing me. Yay, we did it. That is a button if I have ever seen one. It is so easy and so much fun. Literally could do this for hours.
Button 1 complete.
Uh-oh, so this is the other reason why you want to use a thicker fabric. The fabric can start to wiggle out if it's too thin. You can still get it to work, but it might take some trial and error. Let's try with some thicker fabric. So this should do it. The same exact process, I just give it a little bit extra pressure when cutting thicker fabric, just because sometimes it doesn't cut the fabric all the way through, especially with this one because it has such a loose weave that it has a tendency to pull apart on the edges really easily. You can always just clean it up with scissors if you don't cut all the way through, and it might just be that these cutting dies are not sharp enough. One of these days I should probably do some research to see if and how I can sharpen these. If anyone on the recesses of the interwebs knows a solution or tips and tricks to sharpening these circular doohickeys, let me know in the comments. So ideally you want a fabric that's thick enough that can hold itself here without undoing itself. This is perfect right here. The more thickness between the two button pieces, the more friction will do its job and hold it together. And that, my friends, is a gnarly little button. Let's make like a cajillion more. There's also this plaid-ish fabric that I was trying to get to cut at the intersection of the colors, but it was kind of hard to get them perfectly aligned, but we're still gonna make some awesome little buttons out of them anyways. And y'all, the heat is real here in Texas. I am so covered in sweat that it feels like I am swimming. I forgot about suede! This jacket's got a big old stain on it that won't come out, so we are going to buttonize it. Well, anyways, I'm giving this one some extra pressure because it is a really tough fabric, but yeah, this one turned out really great. I'm super happy with this one. Looking back on it, I really should have made more than one of this fabric.
Now let's turn these awesome buttons that Brad made for me into some even more awesome jewelry. I'm just grabbing a couple of supplies here, some pliers, some wire, and some accessories that we'll go over later. So I decided I want to make some dangly earrings out of this awesome orange and yellow plaid pattern. I'm going to do a tiny button at the top for the stud part, and then dangle 2 larger buttons below that on a chain. But first we have to take the loops out of the back of these buttons. Honestly, this probably would have been easier to do before Brad made the buttons, but I forgot to do it, and so I'm doing it after, and it totally works. Now that I've got all of those loops pulled out, I'm going to use some JB Weld, which is an epoxy product, mix that up, and I'm going to use that to glue some loops onto the back of the earrings. Now there were loops on here, but I'm actually placing these loops towards the top of the buttons so that they hang properly. If I used the loops that were there, the ones in the center, the buttons would kind of face the ground and not do what I want them to do. These were kind of a pain to get them to hold up. There's probably other ways to do this, but this is how it worked for me. You might use a toothpick or something to help hold the loops vertical because mine kept falling over. I'm also going to use this JB Weld to attach some stud posts to the top earrings. These are something that I found super cheap on Amazon. I think I have 2,000 of them, but they're stainless so they don't bother my ears, and I use them all the time. I also got these little hooks on Amazon. I'm using these to turn these into sort of a pendant button so that I can run a necklace chain through them. They're too large, or else I would have used them to make these for the earrings as well, but I don't have small ones, so I had to use the little loops earlier. Now I'm going to use a chain to connect these earrings so that they dangle nicely on my ears. I'm going to start at the bottom and open up the bottom link of the chain and use that to connect onto the loop that I attached to this bottom button. And I'm going to repeat the process, of course, on the other side. So I'm going to do these kind of in tandem so that I can make them symmetrical. Next, I'm going to count, I think it was 10 chain links up to affix the second button. I want to count the chain links so that they're the same length for me. And again, to get these loops open, I'm using the pliers to sort of twist the circle out of shape, hook in whatever I need to hook in, and then twist that back into shape. It takes some practice to do this perfectly without deforming the circle, but it's honestly not that hard. And here I'm doing the same thing on the other side. Next, I'm going to count, I think it was 6 or 7 loops up again, and just stop my chain. So I'm essentially trimming off the last couple loops of this chain because I like the length of the earring where it is here. I'm then going to attach a jump ring on the end of that chain, and I'm going to use that to thread the post of the post earring into so that I actually have a earring that is adjustable. I can use it either as this long earring with the 3 buttons, or I can take that chain off and use it as just a single stud. And this is just a preference thing. Since I know I will be using these earrings, I now have 2 different sets of earrings with the same project. And that's it. That was the most complicated earring I made. And here is the necklace that matches it, as well as the other set of earrings that I made without any chain. So that's just the hook or the post or the loop just attached with the JB Weld. So these are the simpler ones. But I think they're stunning, and I'm so excited to wear these. Well, that was lots of fun. We really enjoyed remembering how to make this button maker make buttons, and it was tons of fun to use, and also I absolutely love this button jewelry. I will definitely be wearing those cute little plaid earrings out and about, and maybe down the road we will through a couple on Etsy. Let us know if you're interested in that down below. And as always, give us a like, a subscribe, and check us out on our other social medias. If you want to do something similar to this, we will link a similar machine that is more modern down below where you can make your own cool fabric buttons and jewelry out of those buttons. So check that out for sure, and if you make anything, tag us as always at Briva Creative, and check out our website. It's up and live and new, and we're really excited about it. So check that out at brivacreative.com, and come back in 2 weeks for the next video.